Hiya, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you don't know me, I'm Christina. I am 24, I live in London and I work in publishing, which is what today's video is all about. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much to Ayn for tagging me in this little tag. I knew that I wanted to, for Work in Publishing Week, although I probably should have organised it better and actually posted it during Work in Publishing Week, that I wanted to do some kind of video on my channel about publishing, how I got into publishing, my thoughts about it, my tips, and talk about publishing hopefuls a bit, and just talk through all of it. So thank you so much for tagging me. Perfect video to kind of introduce publishing into my channel. I did do a little work day in my life on my very first video. It was work from home day in my life. So go and check that out if you want. Follow me on Instagram, I'm at the Story Book Club. I quite often post updates on my work days, work life there, as well as just everything else. And subscribe to this channel if you'd like. So Ayn has put together this list of questions all about working in publishing that I'm just going to go through and answer. I haven't done a chatty video like this to a camera literally since I started, so I do feel a bit weird because I got used to vlogging, but hopefully this is okay and hopefully this video works out well. First question is, what was your first publishing job? My first job was as a Waterstones bookseller. I got a role just as I finished uni at my local Waterstones. I worked there for 8 months and it was the best. I loved the job. I loved being in a bookshop. I loved talking to customers about books. I loved the fact that publishers really valued us, and I mean, I got a lot of free books. Learned loads about the sales side of the industry, which did help me get my job as a sales and marketing assistant, and it was so fun. I think my favourite day, which I don't know whether other booksellers would agree with me because I think they'd say it was too busy, but my favourite day was Christmas Eve. I think working on Christmas Eve was just so busy, such a buzz. I also got the chance to work as a bookseller at Cheltenham Literature Festival, which was the best 2 weeks as well. It really introduced me to kind of the publicity side of things and events, and just how amazing it was talking to authors, being at author signings, seeing readers queue up to meet their favourite author and kind of the interaction between them. It was really special to see that for the first time. So yeah, my first role at publishing was a Waterstones bookseller, which I think is quite a lot of people's first roles and a really good way to have a good base of knowledge of the industry. What is your current publishing job? My current publishing job is the Sales and Marketing Assistant at Allison & Busby. I do sales, marketing, publicity, a very small team. We're an independent trade publisher based right in the middle of London. We do a wide range of books from historical fiction, historical crime, crime and thriller, saga, romance, a few non-fiction, a few children's, really a lot of range. It means I have such great experience working on such a variety of different books and seeing the different ways to market them, to publicise them, to sell them to different sales agents. I do lots of different things in my role at the moment, from the sales side of things, which is keeping in contact with sales agents, regularly uploading sales grids, so to Waterstones, to the bookseller, to gardeners, so being always in contact so they always know about our upcoming schedule, whether there's a title change, whether there's a new cover in, all of that side. So that's lots of my sales side of things. I manage the company's data management system, which is called Biblio. So that's all that information about all our titles. So that's all the metadata, that's sorting out Onyx feed, talking with Onyx feed recipients, sorting out AIs and all of those things. And then there's the marketing and publicity side of things, is running the company's social media, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then I started a TikTok. And it is getting review copies out to the media, whether that be newspapers, magazines, podcast people, as well as organising blog tours and sending books to bloggers, bookstagrammers, and all of that. Write a picture of my job. I think I've probably forgotten lots there, but there's lots of things to do and I love it. It's taught me so much, such a blanket of the industry. That is just the best. What are your favourite and non-favourite things about working in the publishing industry? Probably going to come up a few times, but if I'm being honest, my least favourite is the salary. That's all I really can say on that. Favourite things, really hard to choose, lots. I'm going to go for two favourite things. I think one side is the people in the industry, the people that you work with. Everyone loves what they're working on. I think that provides a really honest and really hard-working team element to it. So even though I'm not like an editor and I don't have stuff to do with the editorial of the books, but it's seeing those books on social media, like when we do blog tour and people will post about how much they love them, and then people will comment saying, oh, I can't wait to read that, oh, that's on my list. I love that. I think that's my favourite because you can see the actual way that Instagram and social media influences books, and I love social media and that's always going to be one of my favourite things. But actually seeing that influences people to buy books is so good, and I think it's always something that I want to champion, that actually social media can do so much for your books, which I think everyone knows, especially with TikTok or BookTok. Have your reading habits changed since entering the publishing industry? So I actually wouldn't say they have really. I think that might be an uncommon answer for this. I'd say that when I was thinking about going into publishing, my reading habits changed. So when I was a teenager and kind of a young adult, you know, early 20s at uni, all that I would want to read in my spare time was YA books. I read all YA books, fantasy, romance, contemporary. I loved them, and I still do. I literally read a book in 24 hours the other day. Juno Dawson's Stay Another Day, phenomenal. Once I kind of realised that I wanted to get into publishing, I realised that I needed to broaden my horizons because there's not many YA imprints and I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to work in YA. Kind of spurred on by travelling in Australia and having limited access to books, where I had to read whatever I could find at a hostel book swap. And that really opened up my reading to historical fiction, literary fiction. Once I got more involved kind of during the pandemic with online things, I've really read what was big then and what was hyped up. And those books are the ones that are doing well in the publishing industry and ones that I felt like I should know about. Periods leading up to trying to enter the industry, my reading habits changed, but actually in the past year, they haven't changed that much. I go into the office every day, I read a good balance of work books and non-work books. I don't think my habits have changed that much. Can you share your top resources for anyone wanting to join publishing? So my top one is definitely Publishing Hopefuls. Publishing Hopefuls is a Facebook group that I run, and it is one of the best things that I've ever created. I realised I haven't actually talked about Publishing Hopefuls on this channel so far, and it's such a big part of kind of my way into publishing and publishing in general for me that it seems silly that I haven't talked about it. But here we go. You may not know, but I wanted to join the industry in January 2020 when I came back from travelling. I started applying to lots of different jobs. I got a few different interviews. I'll tell one story later. And then COVID hit. And suddenly the job market went absolutely silent. And it was really hard. And I was on Twitter at that time, chatting to lots of different other people who were similar to me, wanting to get into the industry, and were like, there is nothing here for me at the moment. So I had to get a part-time job in Tesco's. It wasn't a great time. I mean, it wasn't a great time for everyone. It was lockdown, you know. And there was a few different kind of online events that were happening. I realised there was a really big conversation on Twitter amongst people who wanted to get into the industry, publishing hopefuls. But it was all on Twitter, so it all could be seen by everyone, and you kind of have to curate what you say. So I, really randomly, it was literally when I was on the door in Tesco's, you know, when you have to be like, when you'd have people at the supermarket being like, go in now, go in now. That was me. On a Tuesday afternoon, and I'd basically in the morning done a podcast recording with Emma from the Slumbering Slothcast podcast. I'd done a podcast recording with her, and she was similar to me, wanting to get into the industry, and I really enjoyed chatting to her. And I was like, I want to chat to more people. So I was part of a few different Facebook groups, whether that be Girls Who Graduate or Girls in Marketing, and I wanted a publishing one. So I thought, why not create one? So I messaged Emma to see if she wanted to kind of create it with me, because I didn't have that many connections in publishing, but I knew that she did. So we created it, set it up the next day. I literally created the graphics like exactly like 10 o'clock on that Tuesday night, like really inspired and enthusiastic about it. We set it up on the Wednesday afternoon, and I think we got about 350 members in a week, and we've now got over 3,800 members, and it is just the most supportive place for people wanting to get into the industry, as a place for only people wanting to get into the industry. So we won't accept anyone into the group who already work in the industry, just because we want everyone to feel safe in there. We want people to write what they want to write. We don't want them to feel cautious that a future employer is going to see. Although now quite a lot of us have actually got jobs in the industry, so obviously it has changed a bit. Posting on there, you obviously should still be careful and professional. Everyone is so supportive. They ask questions about specific applications. They share their CV, a job thread every Monday morning for roles that are up at the moment. I think it's just the place to be if you want to enter the industry. Way to connect with like your peers, future colleagues, way to understand what's going on in the industry, way to just chat with people and connect. The best thing, and I really, really would recommend you go and join. Please make sure you do answer the 3 questions though, because we can't accept you without those, and it saves us a hell of a lot of work, and you'll get access to the group quicker. Go make sure you join there. I think it's the best thing. 2 recommendations similar to Iron. I'd definitely say the bookseller. I signed up to the bookseller emails years ago. Every weekday morning you'll get an overview of main things going on in the publishing industry, and I think that's a really good way to just stay attuned to the industry. It doesn't really require much, literally just a skim read every morning. It's behind a paywall, so you probably won't be able to read that much more into it, but just having the headlines I think give you a really clear idea of what's going on in the industry. Similar to that, I'd say Twitter. You have to be a presence on there, but I think you need to be on Twitter if you wanted to get into the industry. There's so much going on in there. whether it be people talking about the books that are happening at the moment, whether people are talking about book job transparency, whether people are reacting to something that's happened with an author in news. It's a really good way to get up-to-date reactions to everyone, and it is also a good way to connect with people. You can see who's the publicity director somewhere, you can see who's an editorial assistant at a place that you are applying for. There's different ways to connect with people, whether it literally just be following them or sending them a DM. So I think Twitter is a vital place to be if you do want to join the industry, but don't feel pressured in having your own presence on there. But if you are going to be on there, be prepared that employers probably will look at your social media, and be professional if it is an open account to kind of publishing you as a person, but keep it professional if you are going to put it on your CV. What is one publishing department that you would like to join for a day? This is quite a hard question. I think potentially I'd say design. I love looking at book covers and seeing the different ones, seeing the ones that are similar, seeing the trends, and I'm quite a creative person. Like I do the graphics at my work for kind of Instagram, but I'm really not good at them. Like I have a very basic knowledge of Photoshop and everything. So I think seeing someone in design be in Adobe Design and like making all the changes and seeing what they do and why they do that and all of that, I think that would be really interesting. Can you share your top 3 tips to stand out from the crowd when applying for publishing jobs? Number 1 is potentially sometimes a bit of an unpopular opinion, but it worked for me, so therefore I'm going to share it with you. But it's have online ventures, have an online profile. So as I said, I did have publishing hopefuls, but before that I had my Instagram account, the Story Book Club, which originally was this book club. I had a book that we were reading every few weeks. I was posting quizzes. I was really trying to create a community, and I was sharing that on Twitter. I was sharing that on LinkedIn. And from there I did get work experience to help a publisher with their Instagram. But in my interview, they were so interested in it. It was a way to show that I like books, like obviously, but it was also a way to show how much I know about social media and what I could bring to the role, whether that be kind of the growth of my account, the graphics that I was making, the photos I was taking. And similar with my website, it showed kind of that I could write website copy, that I had a design eye for it all. All of that really contributed to me standing out from the crowd. It's good to get into your head, what have you learned from all of those things that you can bring to your role? I think that's a really interesting thing. Number 2 would be to highlight the variety of skills that you have from other industries. If you're applying to a higher up role and you've come from a completely different industry, highlight the transferable skills. If you just have had hospitality experience or retail experience, so many skills that you can bring to your role from hospitality, whether that be in teamwork, whether that be perseverance, whether that be customer service skills, whether that be communication, you help with their Instagram, whether you help with their displays. There's so many different things there that you can transfer and you can relate to publishing in a really good way. So I think really highlighting the transferable skills. 3 is just have a great, engaging CV. Cover letter, making sure that it is specific to the imprint that you're applying to or the house that you're applying to. You've read the job description, make sure you use the words from the job description in your CV, in your cover letter, sprinkle those keywords throughout, taking off their list of what they're expecting from a person, and that will really make you stand out and make you a clearer candidate. Have you ever been rejected from a publishing job that you loved? Can you share any tips for dealing with this? One of my, and it wasn't specifically a rejection, but I think my most interesting thing is my interviews that were stopped because of COVID. I think it was my 2nd ever publishing interview, and I got an interview as an editorial assistant at a children's publisher. It was a really cool job. Now I see it's definitely not suited to me. I had a task to do straight away, and it was to create these it was like a mermaid activity book and different stuff like this. So that was really fun, like the creative side of me, and that I really enjoyed doing these tasks. After the interview, it was in person. It was on March the 9th, I believe, and COVID was a thing by then. We knew stuff was going on. It was definitely talked about, but I didn't imagine that it would stop or hinder this interview. One of my questions I asked was, how do you think COVID is going to affect the business or this role? Something, I can't remember how I worded it. And they said they don't think it's going to affect them at all. Yeah, so that was Monday afternoon, and I felt like the interview had gone pretty well. I felt like I was quite confident. I felt like I'd answered quite well. I felt like I connected with the interviewers. I knew that potentially it wasn't specifically the right job for me, but I kind of knew that it was also potentially a step into the industry, and thought I might have a chance for a second interview. And so then in the evening, Boris Johnson announced that everyone has to work from home. And obviously a week later we were in lockdown. The next morning I got an email from them saying, yeah, we're stopping this. we're going to stop all interviews. They had interviews going on later on in the week, said they were going to stop them, they were going to come back to this. They didn't give a time frame, but they were putting it on, they were postponing it to have an interview, and for that to be taken away. And for that to be taken away kind of straight before COVID was really hard, because you knew from then people weren't going to be putting job adverts up. So I think that was really hard. And the way I dealt with it, honestly, I don't know. Life was hard then. In general, probably a month or so later I dealt with it. And that's when I started all my online stuff. That's when I really took charge myself to make myself a good candidate to stand out. That's when I started my Instagram, my Publishing Hopefuls, I did this website, and I did during lockdown. Worked so well because I got a job a month or two after the job market opened up again. That is how I dealt with rejection, for it to power me to be better. What advice would you give someone who is trying to get into publishing from another industry? I think this is a bit harder for me to answer because it's not necessarily like an entry-level role, which is kind of obviously what I have experience for. But I think just highlighting the transferable skills, making it obvious why you want to work in publishing, ensuring you know the imprint, ensuring you know the books, ensuring you do know about the publishing industry, why you want to get into the industry, but also what you can bring that people who have grown up in the industry, grown up might be the wrong word, but what you can bring that they can't. The outsider's opinions, the outside marketer ideas, the outside publicity ideas, all of those, and why it's so special, why it's so different. Like, you're going to stand out so well. So really make sure you know the books, the industry, but also show why you're different and why they should hire you. Right, so those are all the questions. I feel like my mouth has gone a bit numb from speaking so much. This was really long. I'm hoping I can cut it down a lot. But thank you so much if you did stay till the end. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you took something from it. I hope it was interesting. Make sure you do join Publishing Hopefuls if you're looking to get into the industry. Make sure you do subscribe to my channel. I might do a more coherent and kind of in-depth dive to how I got into the industry. If that is something you'd be interested in, do let me know. Comment down below. Give this video a like. Make sure you go and follow me on all social media accounts. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.